So, Trump and the Republicans have been coming for Obamacare, which is the ACA, in which MAGA supporters, for some strange reason, really thought they had the ACA and not Obamacare, which is the same thing. But Trump has been coming for it. He said he wants to get rid of it. He has a concept of a plan. And I truly hope that MAGA voters who are on it get what they voted for. Let's see who might be at risk if Trump gets his way. Millions of Americans are at risk of losing their health insurance if Congress chooses not to renew subsidies from the Affordable Care Act, ACA, or Obamacare. The enhanced premium tax credits are set to expire at the end of next year. If Congress does not renew them, an extra 4 million people will become uninsured, according to a report by the Urban Institute. An additional 5 million people have enrolled in health insurance through the PTCs, that's the premium tax credits, since they were introduced by the Biden administration in March 2021. The tax credits lowered premiums on insurance through the ACA and raised income eligibility thresholds. The future of the Affordable Care Act is uncertain with President-elect Donald Trump as he sets to take office with the Republican-controlled Congress, with many GOP lawmakers having been critical of the law. But no worries, he has concepts of a plan, y'all. Trump tried to repeal the ACA during his first term. However, he wrote on Truth Social during his presidential campaign this year that he would not scrap the act if reelected, but would make it much better for far less money. Okay, I mean, totally sure. I'm totally sure he's going to work it out and like really put some thought into it. Totally sure he will. The Republican controlled Congress would have to vote to renew the Biden policy of PTCs next year. If that does not happen, the states that could see the biggest increase in the number of uninsured citizens are Mississippi and Tennessee, according to the Urban Institute's report. In Mississippi, an extra 43% more of citizens would become uninsured, while in Tennessee, that figure would be 39%. Across the country overall, Urban Institute's research estimates uninsurance will increase by 16%. The subsidies significantly reduce monthly costs for people purchasing plans through the ACA marketplaces. Michael Ryan, a finance expert and founder of MichaelRyanMoney.com, told Newsweek previously. The worst affected states are all concentrated next to each other around the Sun Belt. The report projects Alabama and South Carolina would experience a 34% increase in uninsured people, while Georgia and Louisiana would both see a 32% rise. With the exception of Alabama, these are among the 10 states that did not expand Medicaid eligibility to more income brackets. Without PTC renewal, nearly 2.5 million people will lose health insurance across states without Medicaid expansion, translating into a 27% increase according to the Urban Institute. Currently, the age group most likely to be taking advantage of the PTCs and therefore at the highest risk of losing insurance are those aged between 19 and 34. An additional 49,000 people in this age group will lose insurance in Mississippi, along with 96,000 in Tennessee. So there we have it. We will see if the crazy thing is, we're going to see if he gets all these things through that he promised, because he has promised a lot of things that will be detrimental to people in their households. So we're going to see if he makes it happen. Otherwise, people better get on the YouTubes, start working on, your CPR, setting bones, seeing if you can get blood pressure stabilized, see if you can buy some defibrillators or whatever, EKG machines, I don't know, something that's going to help people. See if you can figure out how to, if there's a recipe for insulin or something like that. Start getting your life together right now. See if you can figure out all of the herbs and stuff, vitamins and minerals. Get yourself healthy. Otherwise, you're just going to be Googling it and trying to put some tussin on it, drink some ginger ale and all that good stuff. Let me know what you think about this one. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. With many people struggling in this economy right now just to support themselves, they're going to hate to see this news. 29 states have filial responsibility laws requiring adult children to care for their elderly parents. Coming tidal wave of boomer retirements, many of their kids are deeply resentful of these laws. According to the 2020 census, there are more than 76 million boomers in America today. With the generation having been born between 1946 and 1964, that means a tidal wave of retirees. An estimated 4 million boomers will hit the age of 65 every single year through 2027. The impacts of that graying of this enormous generation present myriad economic and healthcare challenges, ones that pretty much nobody seems ready to meet. As children of boomers are finding out, some states have a solution to this that strikes many as outright infuriating. 29 states have filial laws that force adult kids to care for their elderly parents. At this point, the numbers do not lie. Boomers had it astonishingly easier than pretty much every generation before and after them, having come from an age and lived most of their lives in a stable economy in which wages, housing costs, prices of goods, and inflation were moderate compared to today. However, that has not translated into the generation being ready for retirement. A 2023 Georgetown study found that two-thirds of boomers do not have enough assets to sustain them through an average 20-year retirement. And in 2022, the Federal Reserve found that 43% of boomers have no retirement savings whatsoever. That means they better work a lot longer than retirement age because the younger generations are barely making enough money to pay for themselves, let alone their parents. So, who's going to take care of all these rapidly aging boomers with no safety net? Well, in 29 states, their Gen X, Millennial, and Gen Z kids may be forced into the job whether they can afford to or not. They're called filial laws, after the Latin derived word for son or daughter, and they require an elderly person's kids to pay for any healthcare costs not covered by Medicare or insurance, which are often staggering amounts for those who require long-term care, like nursing homes. Filial laws require adult children to pay for everything from basic necessities like groceries to mental health care. The states with filial laws on the books are, listen up, Alaska, Arkansas, California, Connecticut, Delaware, Georgia, Idaho, Indiana, Iowa, Kentucky, Louisiana, Massachusetts, Mississippi, Montana, Nevada, New Hampshire, New Jersey, North Carolina, North Dakota, Ohio, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, South Dakota, Tennessee, Utah, Vermont, Virginia, and West Virginia. Puerto Rico also has filial laws. The details vary from state to state, but filial laws don't apply to everyone or every situation. Generally, filial laws come into play when an elderly person is indigent, on social assistance for basic needs, doesn't qualify for Medicaid or Medicare assistance with long term care, or it is established that their children can afford to pay for their nursing home bills. It's important to note that experts say these laws rarely come to bear, but also expect that the tsunami of boomer retirees will change this because of their inadequate savings and the strain it'll place on state and federal social services like Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. For context, the generation before the boomers, the silent generation, is not only the smallest in 100 years due to the forces of the Depression and World War II, but they also came of age at a time when pensions, now almost entirely a thing of the past, were common benefits at jobs. Roll that together, and the boomers present a challenge that is orders of magnitudes more difficult than those before them. Many children of boomers are furious that they may be subject to these laws. Dip into the subject of filial laws on social media, and the rage on the part of millennials, Gen Zers, and many younger Gen Xers in the so-called sandwich generation is palpable. The boomer generation has quite literally had every single public benefit handed directly to them. A TikToker named Claire, known as LaCroix Goth on the app, said in a video about the subject. And they pulled the ladder up behind them as they moved up. Yes, many of us will never taste a percentage of what those generations had. She's not wrong. The boomer generation has again and again voted in favor of politicians who have presided over the erosion of pretty much every hallmark of the U.S. economy that used to protect workers, the middle class, and the elderly, including retirements. Chief among them is the introduction of the 401k, which has almost entirely replaced pensions with retirement plans tied to the stock market. The draconian deregulation of which by President Nixon, Reagan, and Clinton, all of whom were elected by boomers in landslides, means 401ks are vulnerable to the whims of Wall Street, like being wiped away completely in a single day, as happened to my boomer mom in 2008 when the Great Recession exploded. But many boomers still have a safety net in the form of the other bugaboo of younger generations, their staggeringly inflated houses, as Claire also angrily pointed out in her video. For context, in 1985, the rough midpoint of the boomer generation's adulthood, boomers paid an average of around $80,000 for a house. For most of us, you probably need $80,000 for a down payment as far as these house prices are concerned. Um, I'm sorry, that 80,000 is now worth more than 230,000, and that's just factoring in inflation alone, not the staggering bloat to home prices that has the average home price in 2024 at more than $500,000. And boomers didn't even have to contend with credit ratings to get a mortgage. It's hard to not feel, now that they're elderly, that the boomers frittered all their advantages away. It's even harder not to empathize with struggling young people like Claire, outright outraged that it may fall to them to make up the difference, especially given boomers' continued support as a voting bloc for politicians determined to gut Social Security and Medicare, the only safety nets many senior citizens even have. Still, if the past is prologue, boomers will place the blame for most of this mess not on themselves and the politicians they've enabled, but on their lazy, entitled, ungrateful children who just don't want to work hard. Buckle up and maybe call an estate planner. Children of boomers is going to be a bumpy decade or three. It's going to be a mess, and this all factors in to why people of my generation and younger why they can't have babies, even if they wanted to, because they're barely being able to take care of themselves. And now, with this gray tsunami that's about to hit, it's going to be a whole cluster F of major proportions. This is another reason why politics is personal and the personal is political. You cannot get around it. How you vote does impact you and it impacts lots of other people too. Join the conversation. Let me know what you think of this one. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. On top of all the other things that teachers and administrations are going through, dealing with mass deportations is on the forefront of their brains. U.S. schools prepare to respond to deportation threats. Some schools in the U.S. are preparing to respond to possible threats of student deportations ahead of President elect Donald Trump taking office. Educators nationwide are preparing for potential disruptions as the incoming administration signals plans to deport millions of undocumented immigrants. Even without immediate action, the rhetoric alone could affect children of immigrants, experts and educators warn. Almundina Abeda, the superintendent of Chelsea Public Schools in Boston, told the Associated Press, "The kids are still coming to school, but they're scared." They're asking, "Are we going to be deported?" Abeda said. In Abeda's district, many parents come from countries where schools are operated by the federal government, leading to misconceptions about the United States system. Following the election, Abeda sent letters to families, reassuring them that their children remain welcome and safe, regardless of who holds the presidency. Concerns over Trump presidency. U.S. immigration officials have long refrained from making arrests at schools, operating under a 2011 policy designing sensitive locations such as schools, hospitals, and places of worship as off limits for enforcement actions. In 2021 policy update, Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas emphasized that such actions could deter access to vital services. The Heritage Foundation's policy blueprint, known as Project 2025, includes a proposal to revoke the sensitive places policy. While Trump distanced himself from the plan during his campaign, he has tapped several contributors for key roles in his perspective and administration, including naming Tom Homan as border czar. An arrest of a parent at a school drop-off could trigger widespread panic, warned Angelica Salas, executive director of the Coalition for Humane Immigrants' Rights in Los Angeles. If something happens at one school, it spreads like wildfire and kids stop coming to school. Gustavo Baldares, superintendent of Beaverton, a suburb of Portland, advised the school committee this month to prepare for a more aggressive approach from a potential Trump administration. As a precaution, the district plans to train staff to deny immigration agents entry to school grounds. All bets are off with Trump, Balderas, who also serves as the president of the School Superintendents Association, said to the AP. If something happens, I feel like it will happen a lot quicker than last time. Many school officials remain hesitant to discuss their concerns or strategies, wary of putting their immigrant students under additional scrutiny. At a Midwestern school serving children from Mexican and Central American immigrant families, administrators have enlisted immigration attorneys to assist parents in preparing care plans for their children in the event of deportation. The administrator, who required anonymity due to lack of authorization to speak publicly, described the initiative as a proactive measure. Over the past 2 years, Denver has provided assistance to more than 40,000 migrants, offering shelter or transportation to other destinations. The city borders Aurora, one of two locations Trump has identified as potential starting points for his proposed mass deportation efforts. When contacted by the Associated Press, Scott Ribble, a spokesperson for Denver Public Schools, said, Denver Public Schools is monitoring the situation while we continue to serve, support, and protect all of our students as we always have. The policies are grounded in the belief that students cannot focus on learning if they fear immigration agents might detain them or their parents while on campus. School districts also emphasize that these measures uphold students' constitutional right to a free public education regardless of their immigration status. And that's where we are right now. That is where we are right now. Obviously, this is going to impact a lot of people. And it's not just going to impact the undocumented, it's going to impact the people that might also be citizens here if their family is impacted. Okay, join the conversation. Let me know what you think about this. Don't forget to like, comment, and share.